Coming up tonight, a nationwide weekend lockdown is in effect starting at 10 p.m. Plus, more sweeping measures coming into effect on Monday as COVID-19 cases continue to spike and government changes its policy on commercial travel.
Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to Our News and thanks for joining us. I'm Jared Higgs. Topping news tonight, Prime Minister Dr. HUBERT MINNIS announcing a slew of new measures aimed at combating the spread of the coronavirus. The announcement comes as the country records 42 new cases of the virus, bringing the total up to 316. Earlier today, the Office of the Prime Minister announced a weekend lockdown for the entire Bahamas. He says those lockdowns will continue as needed and will be pulled back on an island-by-island basis.
Starting tonight at 10 p.m., a weekend lockdown will be implemented for all islands of the Bahamas, excluding Grand Bahama, who is currently under a national lockdown. Grocery stores, pharmacies, gas stations will be allowed to operate for the public during this weekend lockdown from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Dr. MINNIS also announced the following measures, including a change in curfew starting Monday.
Effective Monday, the 27th of July 2020, commercial activity will continue as normal, except as follows. A new curfew from 7 p.m. to 5 a.m. will be implemented. Accordingly, all business activity must be completed by 6 p.m. Indoor and outdoor dining at all restaurants will be prohibited. Takeaway, curbside, and delivery services will continue to be permitted. All congregate activities will be prohibited, including in-person religious services, sporting events, group exercise, and all social gatherings. Funerals will be permitted at the graveside only, with a maximum number of 5 people, including officiant. Weddings will also be permitted with a maximum number of 5 people, including officiant.
Meanwhile, health officials updated the COVID-19 numbers in the country, revealing another significant jump in newly confirmed cases. Chief Medical Officer Dr. MCMILLAN says the increase in cases, especially in the Grand Bahama hotspot, is putting pressure on the medical resources available on that island.
In Grand Bahama, there are 16 such beds. At present, there are 11 hospitalized COVID-19 patients, and Grand Bahama is fast approaching the bed capacity.
MCMILLAN noted that domestic travel was also a contributor to the virus spread, and Dr. MINNIS announced that the domestic borders will be closed on Tuesday. She says, now MCMILLAN says during the Independence weekend, a group that traveled from the Berry Islands to Moores Island became infected.
We believe, based on our history taking, that 26 persons from Berry Islands went into Moores Island on the July 10th holiday. And I'm sure they enjoyed themselves. But this is a result of, we believe, we were, in our contact tracing, we learned that there was, I would say, a socializing event where there was contact between persons from other islands that we know have multiple cases, i.e. Grand Bahama. So they went back home to Berry Island and began having symptoms, and we have 6 active cases. So movement across our islands, it has risk at this time, particularly out of islands that we know have active transmission.
Moments after the Office of the Prime Minister announced a weekend lockdown that would begin tonight at 10, New Providence residents flooded grocery stores throughout the island. Gillian Gray has that.
Scores of shoppers flocked to the supermarket to pick up last-minute items before the lockdown.
I came to pick up some stuff because of the lockdown.
What do you came to pick up?
Bread, produce. Yeah, that's it.
But I usually shop on Saturday and Sunday. I'll have to do it today.
Prime Minister Dr. HUBERT MINNIS announced the lockdown for New Providence late Friday evening. These residents say they agree with the move as the mounting COVID-19 numbers is daunting.
From my personal point of view, it needs to happen to keep everybody's safety and welfare being in hand. It needs to happen today.
Well, I think it's good to help and try and protect the people. I think that is a good thing because they try and protect persons from getting ill. So I think it's a good thing.
I think it's a wise decision he made to lock down so people could they could curb and control the social distancing, and it's better for the country at large and for our own health. I think he's doing a wonderful job.
In throwing her support behind the move, this resident said she feels that people are not obeying the emergency powers orders, and if it were up to her, the lockdown would be longer than a weekend.
Do not take heed and they do not understand. Then when they become ill, they run to the hospital where it's already stressed. Those people working and has to go home to their family. But they want people to look after them, lock it down another 5 months. Let them feel if they can't obey the law, then lock us down.
However, not everyone agreed with the lockdown measures. While this resident agreed that Grand Bahama should be locked down, he said there isn't enough explanation for the move in New Providence.
If you look at the amount of people they had in Grand Bahama, yes, you could say it is a necessary intervention, but right now, NASA has been through it already, and I don't think that is serving any purpose. Or to create panic in the community, in the society,
Reporting for our News, I'm Gillian Gray.
Cabinet held an emergency meeting with health officials last night. Prime Minister Dr. HUBERT MINNIS reiterated that he will do whatever it takes to save lives. Bethany McDermott reports.
Fresh out of that emergency cabinet meeting with health officials, the Prime Minister reiterating that amid high COVID-19 numbers, his goal is to save lives, adding that he's willing to do whatever is necessary. His comments came as the country recorded the highest daily confirmed cases of COVID-19. 55 people tested positive on Thursday. The majority of those cases are now on Grand Bahama, which saw 39 new confirmed cases. The Prime Minister was asked if Grand Bahama can see more restrictive measures if cases continue to rise.
Whatever is necessary to save lives, we will do. Whatever is necessary, we'll do. We would be guided by the medical professionals, and we would be guided by the facts. We'd be guided by all the graphs that they would be able to plot and display, and can show categorically where we would be in 1 week, where we can be in 2 weeks, where we can be in 4 weeks, and what needs to be done.
He was also asked if another lockdown was coming for other parts of the Bahamas in light of the new cases on New Providence and the Family Islands, like Cat Island and the Abaco Keys and Bimini. To that, MINNIS gave this vague response.
I'm being led by the medical professionals.
Deputy Chief Medical Officer Dr. DELON BRENNEN said evidence suggests that measures previously implemented work.
The evidence suggests that the interventions we put in place previously worked. So we may want to consider those interventions or similar interventions to be able to suppress the numbers as we move forward. So it's not that we're saying don't do those things or specifically, but we have to consider similar measures if we're going to arrest or somehow suppress the numbers of cases that we're seeing right now.
He added that research has revealed that the virus would spread to other family islands. He explained that travel is still the main source of the recent surge in confirmed cases, which he says can lead to community spread.
What happens is once you start spreading it into their family members who may not have traveled, their family members will present as cases, but they haven't traveled. So on the dashboard, it may not, or the press release may not say it's related to travel, but that person was in contact with someone who was related to travel. Once you start getting beyond that second generation of person, who was directly in contact with someone who traveled, then you're starting to see persons who are in contact with someone who's a case, but that person didn't travel. So now you're getting a level of cluster.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Bethany McDermott.
Though the Bahamas is in the throes of the second wave of COVID-19, the Compton Authority has reversed course and will now allow commercial flights from all countries under strict conditions. This as Attorney General Carl BETHEL conceded in the Senate that the government's attempt to balance the reopening of the economy may have gone too far. Jasmine Brown reports.
The change in policy was announced in a statement that was released by Attorney General Carl BETHEL this afternoon. Prime Minister MINNIS had announced on Sunday that commercial travel was banned from all places except Canada, the United Kingdom, and the European Union. But the AG's statement said the provisions governing the admission of foreign visitors to the Bahamas were changed in order to create a uniform standard of treatment for all visitors to the Bahamas during this pandemic emergency. The creation of a uniform framework means that there is no longer any need to create any list of countries from which the Bahamas would accept commercial flights, which list thereby excluded other countries. Further, it eliminates the need to continuously add or delete countries as their circumstances might change. In addition to releasing a statement, the AG also delivered sobering comments as he led debate on the resolution to extend the state of emergency to September 30th.
We are in the grips of what appears to be a second wave, largely associated with the reopening of the economy and the borders.
Since the borders reopened on July 1st, COVID-19 cases have skyrocketed.
It must be conceded that the balance may have gone too far towards liberty, if you will, freedom of travel. The finding that travel related to Bahamians traveling to South Florida is not an invention in the head of the government. This is, we understand from what we were briefed, a conclusion of the medical profession.
BETHEL did not provide statistics on the number of cases that are related to travel. The Ministry of Health has also failed to provide travel details for the vast majority of the new cases. Prime Minister MINNIS said in Parliament on Thursday that had the government implemented a travel ban on Bahamians, the country would have been in a better position. Taking a similar tone in the Senate on Friday, BETHEL said this.
If we were in authoritarian China, we could easily have said, yeah, we'll open to the world and we'll block our citizens from going anywhere. But that's not the Bahamas. We have a constitutional democracy. We have the rule of law. And people have fundamental rights.
Like the Prime Minister has said previously, the AG said only a vaccine can restore the kind of normalcy residents were accustomed to.
And I assure the Bahamian people that within the boundaries and limitations of the Constitution, the government of the Bahamas, led by the Most Honorable Dr. HUBERT A. MINNIS, will do the right thing to save this country, to save its people, to save our healthcare system.
Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
A sticky situation for pastors of a local church as the battle for a prestigious post causes strife on the pulpit, forcing the matter to be taken to court. Kyle Joaquin has the story.
Trouble on the pulpit at World Outreach Ministries, formerly known as Golden Gates Assemblies, as members of the church's executive committee seek to reverse a decision by the church's Archbishop Ross Davis to appoint his son, Trent Davis, as the new senior pastor. With the locks changed and the 8 dissenting pastors left fighting for their rights as a part of the decision-making council, the matter has ended up in court.
There has never been a senior pastor after Bishop Ralston Davis. So the custom prior to him, he was elected. And so the same custom that stands with his election should be the one with regards to the members selecting.
The pastors claim the rules of the church are that the senior pastor is to be elected and not appointed, and that they have elected Pastor Alan Strawn as the acting president of the church. In an affidavit, Ross Davis said on February 23rd, he announced at the church's anniversary service that he selected Trent Davis as the next senior pastor, but that it was met with the disapproval of some of the other pastors.
Let there be peace. These men and women of God are peaceful persons. They only want what is right. The church belongs to the people.
On Sunday, like a scene from a movie, drama unfolded as one side of the debacle led service on the podium, while Pastor Trent Davis' side delivered the message from below.
function. You can't be moved by what you see.
We kept our position on the pulpit, on the altar, whereas because they had control of the mic, the sound system, they did some things on the side, and they were able to, the preach word, which was done by Pastor Trent, was done from the floor.
The church, according to Strawn, now has around 400 active members. Despite the drama unfolding on the pulpit, the church released this video of a message from Pastor Trent Davis encouraging people to tune in to Bible study.
I don't know why I've been on this for this entire week, but we've got to speak life to every dead situation.
And while the drama plays out in the public, Pastor Strawn says the intention was never for things to get ugly, but for there to be transparency in the church's dealings.
All opposition is to do the right thing, and the right thing is to ensure that the general membership have a say as to who their senior pastor ought to be.
We believe that there is a better way, and we've been working along those lines to ensure that there is harmony.
We reached out to attorney Wayne Munroe, who represents Bishop Ross Davis, who said the other side has missed 2 meetings, so he has no faith that they are acting in good faith. He said if they are right, then it is a narrow issue and they have nothing to fear. The matter continues before Supreme Court Justice Ian Winder on August 13th. For Our News, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Still to come on Our News, an attorney accused of obstruction of justice. Plus, Ragged Island residents protest outside OPM. We have more. An attorney faced a magistrate accused of obstruction of justice. However, the attorney's own legal team thinks prosecutors waited too long to charge the man. 61-year-old attorney Philip Lundy faced a single count of obstruction of justice at his arraignment before Chief Magistrate Joyanne Ferguson Pratt. The particulars of the offense are that Lundy, on November 28th of last year, did threaten, intimidate, or restrain Justice Ruth Bodarville on account of her presiding or being about to preside over a matter as a judge. When invited to plead to the charge, Lundy said, absolutely not guilty. The attorney had 3 lawyers on record for him, including attorney Ian Cargill, who submitted that because the offense is summary in nature, the charges are time limited. That's because the offense allegedly took place more than 6 months ago. Cargill also made application for bail for Lundy, citing his strong ties in the community. Ferguson Pratt said she would need a week to decide whether the matter was properly before her. She granted Lundy bail in the amount of $20,000 with no reporting requirements. Meanwhile, the country's testing capacity has significantly increased, and according to Deputy Chief Medical Officer Dr. DELON Brennan, health officials have begun widespread testing. Berthany McDermott has that.
Amid a second wave of COVID-19 cases, Deputy Chief Medical Officer Dr. DELON Brennan confirming that the Bahamas has more than 10,000 COVID-19 PCR test kits in country. Back in May, former health consultant in the Office of the Prime Minister Dr. Marceline Dalregis confirmed that the Bahamas had more than 3,000 test kits in country. Brennan said that the capacity has grown, making way for health officials to test more than just symptomatic persons.
Last time we looked, we probably had more than 10,000 kits at our National Reference Lab and at the Princess Margaret Hospital to be able to do testing. But our capacity has grown in country so that it no longer relies purely on what we have at our National Reference Lab. We also have capacity in the private sector as well to be able to test. So that's only grown from there.
Brennan added that while testing is centralized to New Providence, test swabs are on every island.
Without the right persons to do so, without the right technology to do so, we could end up with really bad testing and poor quality control. So what we've decided to do in country is say we'll centralize our testing here in New Providence, but we make sure we have supplies all around the archipelago. So if you see a patient who needs to be swabbed, you can swab that patient, preserve that sample, send it into New Providence, and usually within 24 hours, we can produce a result.
Additionally, he says health officials are now engaging in wide-scale testing. His comments come after repeated calls from stakeholders, the opposition, and even government MPs.
That's currently going on. It's definitely gone beyond what our usual protocol has been to just test those who have symptoms or those who are in the healthcare sector. We've gone much beyond that right now. So there is a significant amount of community level testing that is also occurring right now. And I think you can see that reflected in the numbers that are growing on our dashboard as well.
In recent days, as confirmed cases continue to rise, the daily dashboard and accompanying press releases by the Ministry of Health have been called into question. While the number of cases per island were stated, the document did not clearly break down which cases were in hospital, in home isolation, and who had a history of recent travel. Additionally, on Tuesday, the dashboard was released minutes before midnight. Brennan explained that as numbers increase, every confirmed case has to be contacted. He added it was easy to contact persons when the daily numbers were low.
When you start getting into the 26, the 28, the 55 cases, the same number of people and the same resources have to be multiplied to be able to do that. And so this presents us with the challenge of being able to produce the same level of detail of information as quickly as we would have done in the past with a small number of cases.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
A group of Ragged Islanders held a silent protest outside the office of the Prime Minister this afternoon. The group has taken issue with plans to transport a group of recently captured illegal migrants to that island this weekend ahead of their repatriation.
Our concern is that the island has no facilities to deal with even the residents that are there. It doesn't have a clinic. It doesn't have any medical personnel there. It doesn't even have anything to even check people.
Ragged Island was devastated. Over 13 homes were destroyed. Those people are trying hard to rebuild their lives and their businesses without much aid from the government.
Royal Bahamas Defense Force Commodore Raymond King told Our News the 29 Haitian migrants were found on Great Isaacs Key on Wednesday in what appeared to be a smuggling operation. King added that the migrants are still at the Defense Force Coral Harbor base and scheduled for transport to the substation at Gunpoint, Ragged Island this weekend. Their deportation from Ragged Island is scheduled for Sunday. However, the Ragged Island residents aren't too happy about that.
We have no police and no police station. We only have a couple of Defense Force officers there. And those Defense Force officers' health will be compromised. My sister is a cancer survivor. She is awaiting a surgery. She was told to go back to the island, which is a COVID-free zone, and she cannot compromise her life.
Still to come, Rev signs on as title sponsor of Primary School Student of the Year. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Caleb Bahamas is donating $15,000 to the Bahamas Primary School Student of the Year Award. This is the second year that Rev is the title sponsor. Senior Public Relations Coordinator Davriel Burrows said they were excited to impact young people in a positive way.
This is our second donation of cash of more than $15,000. And we're just, happy to invest in the lives of the young people.
Rev has also assisted in launching the Bahamas Learning Channel, which has helped students to continue their lessons at home during the pandemic. Burrows said while it is a difficult time for companies worldwide, Rev remains committed to giving back to the community.
It's been a really shaky time over the past few months, and we're really happy. And we hope that this affirms our commitment to the community no matter what. Right now, $15,000 is a lot of money for anyone to be giving in terms of corporate sponsorship. But you know what? We gave them our word. We made a 5-year commitment to them, and we wanted to make sure that we honored that commitment. And this embodies who we want to be as a company, partnering with them. You know, we say our slogan is "You and Us Together," and that's what we want to do.
The Chinese Community Association's much-needed donation to the Red Cross. That's coming up when our news returns. For 10 weeks, the Chinese Community Association of the Bahamas has donated to the Bahamas Red Cross Society to help feed those in need. Suzie Chan said the donation includes pallets of chicken, water, cornmeal, and canned goods. They've also helped other churches and nonprofits.
The community noticed the need for help to our Bahamian brothers and sisters, and we came together as a group. There's many members of our association that are business owners, that are Bahamian, Chinese Bahamian, that actually were raised and born in the Bahamas, and also people that are now, permanent residents of the Bahamas. And we came together with donations from the different businesses and different people, and we're trying to do this to do a feeding for the needy in our community.
The Red Cross received over $10,000 in goods from the Chinese Community Association as part of the National Food Task Force. Director Sean Brennan said they have a big role to play. He said it's because of the generosity of local groups that they're able to help those in need.
In the southeastern quadrant of New Providence, our friends have been able to come to our assistance in terms of meeting the needs. We have 12 different, within the zone, southeastern, we have 12 smaller zones or distribution points where our friends at the Chinese Community Association have been helping us in terms of meeting the needs. So we graciously and humbly thank them.
Thank you for joining us for Our News Tonight. To catch our news on the go, download the RevGo Play app. On behalf of the entire news team, I'm Jared Higgs. Have a beautiful evening, but stay with us. A rebroadcast of the Ministry of Health press conference and a statement from the Prime Minister made earlier this evening is up next.